The rain didn't wait for the eulogy. It began falling in soft sheets as people entered the small chapel, their umbrellas folding like defeated wings. Inside, the air was thick with grief and unanswered questions. 24. That was all the time Nathan Carter had. Father Thomas adjusted his collar, eyes flicking to the closed casket. The young man within had no mother, no father, no siblings to mourn him. Just a sparse crowd of classmates, neighbors, and a few from the homeless shelter where he volunteered. The priest sighed, preparing to offer comfort where little could be found. He stepped up to the pulpit and opened his notes. But before he could begin, something caught his eye, something unusual. In the very front pew sat a man who didn't belong. Dressed in an expensive charcoal gray suit, he looked out of place among the worn jackets and damp coats. His hands trembled slightly as they gripped a cane, but his eyes, sharp, glassy, searching, were fixed on the coffin like a man staring down his past. Father Thomas hesitated. There had been no mention of a wealthy benefactor, no notable family. Nathan had lived simply, barely scraping by on wages from a bookstore and the odd jobs he took at the shelter. And yet, this man, a stranger to all, wept with the depth of someone who had lost a piece of his soul. The priest cleared his throat and began his sermon. Nathan Carter wasn't famous. He didn't change the world with inventions or lead armies. But he had something rare. He listened. He showed up when no one else did. He gave what little he had, even when it left him with nothing. At that moment, the ground trembled. It wasn't an earthquake. It was subtle, like a vibration in the chest more than the floor. Several people looked up, startled. A chandelier above the aisle swayed gently, its crystals whispering secrets of the unseen. Then came the sound, barely audible at first. A soft ripple of sobs from the back rows. Not just crying. Release. Recognition. Father Thomas felt it too, a strange pressure building in the room. And then, the man in the suit stood. "I'm sorry," the man said, voice steady but heavy with emotion. "I have to speak." No one stopped him. The priest stepped aside. "My name is Richard Langston. You don't know me, but I knew Nathan." He paused, looking toward the casket. 3 months ago, I was ready to end my life. I had built a fortune, lost my family chasing it, and was alone, utterly, completely alone. I was standing on the edge of a bridge when a young man approached me. Gasps echoed through the chapel. He didn't judge. He didn't preach. He sat beside me, quietly, and told me about the stars. He said they're only visible when it's dark. Then he smiled and added, "Maybe that's why you're here. Maybe tonight, you'll finally see them." That boy saved my life. Tears streamed freely now, from strangers, from the shelter volunteers, from classmates who had never known the full measure of the man they buried. Richard stepped closer to the casket. He gave me hope when I had none. So I came today not only to say goodbye, but to honor his legacy. Starting tomorrow, every cent I own will go toward a foundation in Nathan's name. It will support mental health services, shelters, and scholarships for people like him. People who shine in silence. A murmur of awe spread across the pews. The chandelier, still swaying gently, caught the sunlight breaking through the rain outside. The entire room seemed to glow. As Father Thomas returned to the pulpit, his voice cracked with something deeper than sorrow. It was reverence. "One life," he said, "can echo across thousands." Nathan Carter had no headline obituary. He had no statues, no accolades. But he had love, pure, quiet, unrelenting love that rippled outward until it shook a church to its foundation. And in that trembling silence, the world changed. Final message. Sometimes, the kindest souls live quietly among us. Unnoticed, uncelebrated. But kindness leaves fingerprints that outlast lifetimes. Nathan's story reminds us that a single act of compassion can become the cornerstone of someone else's salvation. In a world that often feels divided, this truth endures. Even the smallest light can guide the lost home.